What's up, everybody? We got more like a surprise extra Halloween-based movie review to put on the list. Werewolf by Might. Werewolf by Night. A Marvel Studios motion picture that was on Disney Plus this past couple of days, and it's based off a Marvel comic. Uh, it's surprising, or not so surprising, that Marvel Studios did a better job with depicting movie monsters than Universal has done in the past, handful of years. But their depiction of, this movie, well, I'll go through the movie, but it's like, first and foremost, having it in black and white was a brilliant choice. The director had did some, not like I think this is his first directorial work, but for the most part, he handles other aspects of the film sets. I'm blanking on what he typically does, but uh, he, he did a fine job here. It was a smart play of making this all in black and white. It was a little ambiguous how what time period we're dealing with up until the point we get to the end, because you'd think this was set in like, at the most Victorian era of history, because like the opening narration has all these pictures and stuff like that, like old scrolls and old English type of like narration and like you know drawings and stuff like that, and you see like the Avengers and things like that. Then uh, you get what you thought was like, as the way it was marketed, which is still pretty good marketing. You would think this is gonna be like yeah, of course, Werewolf by Night. He's gonna have werewolf in here, and the premise is that you got these group of monster hunters gathering together in this one locale to hunt down this werewolf. That's what you thought was gonna be like the major play, but there was more to it than that. Uh, yes, there was monster hunters arriving in this one locale. However, it's for like a trial slash funeral for the lead monster hunter for this cabal of hunters, and it was kind of cool, but kind of like out there, where uh, the the wife of this guy, or the second wife of this guy, you know, uh, who did a lot of what he wished, including organizing his corpse to be turned to like a makeshift puppet in his coffin. One of the servants had to crank the thing. That's why you think it's like set in a different time period, because like who still have to crank manually to make certain gears to turn and what have you. And he just I guess a separate recording was doing the talking about the body was moving in a macabre way. It was so freaking creepy. And he was like a holder of the Bloodstone, and I did not know. It's like, it's completely under the radar. Like nobody obviously knew this, but it was like an introduction to, in case you don't know this character, Marvel's character Elsa Bloodstone, who's part of the whole supernatural occult side of the Marvel heroes. Kind of lesser known, but if you ever play the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, she's one of the characters in the game. And in case you further don't know who this character is, think of her as Marvel's version of John Constantine of the DC universe. She's pretty much basically that. And she initially supposed to just automatically inherit this bloodstone, this kind of artifact that helps. I'm blanking on what that bloodstone's supposed to do, but it is part of her lineage. But it helps her, supposed to help fight off, monsters and what have you. In some aspect, I can't remember like the specifics, but it's in that vein. Uh, but she, you know, I guess from what her stepmom, because she obviously got like a bitterness towards this woman who probably didn't treat her in a more nurturing way, which like you're a bloodstone. You have to fight these monsters and probably put her through some grueling trials and just make sure she's like on the level of somebody like Blade or something like that in terms of skill. And she is from what I've seen, but she ended up leaving it because she didn't want because I guess all that hard training and like it was tough. She couldn't deal with it, so she left. But then she had to come back because her father died, and she had to do this tradition now because since she left, then it's up for grabs. But now these other, I'm not sure the leader of a clan of these each of their own clan of hunters, or just more recognizable hunters in their field or infamous in their field. One in particular, I forgot the guy's name, but he later turns out to be like the werewolf. But uh, it's kind of funny how like none of the, because it seems like the others have already heard of each other, but it they seem like one of the big burly guy, this bearded guy who was like a Scot, I think. The Scotsman who just seems like they carry on like oh, he's well known of killing a whole bunch of people, but it's like it make it seem like y'all heard of him, but it's like it, but it's like how y'all know it's not like a werewolf underneath or wolfman or whatever. But I don't know. It seems like maybe after a rewatch, I might get clarity on that. I only saw it the one time so far, but it's like y'all should not have. He, I don't know. Maybe he is a hunter in his own right, but he kept the werewolf part of him a secret. I don't know how that can even be possible in this kind of line of work. But anyway, Elsa. I can't believe it. Like it's like rehearing that name now. I could the uh, girl from Frozen. Made that name so popular. Now you hear Elsa Bloodstone. He's kind of like your brain had to recalibrate a bit. Different Elsa. So the task is to get the Bloodstone because it's been attached to this monster they have to hunt and kill. And it's kind of like, Hunter, it's kind of like Hunger Games in a way. Because not only you have to hunt down and kill this beast and take the bloodstone off of it, but at the same time, you have to, stop and kill these other hunters trying to get to the same object. So they draw from a hat of names, and the guy who's the werewolf incognito, his name is drawn first, so he gets like a head start, and then the others will proceed to follow. Then it's like an awesome fight scene between like Elsa and like the Scotsman, and then this Asian gentleman. It's just like cool fight scenes. She was awesome, and I like this interaction between her and this dude, who like it's like he just stops and like is like we can just pass each other. It's like because he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to get into all that stuff because the monster they're hunting is Man Thing, and Decker is an awesome character too, and like he's not. He kind of looks like Swamp Thing from DC Universe comics, but he doesn't control like plant. Well, I think he might kind of sort of control planet Earth, but his powers are slightly, different. Because he burns people to the touch, depending on, like, I don't know, like the level of sin or something like that. It has to be something like that, to that effect. Now, I can't remember the specifics of Man Thing's powers. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's look it up right now. It's a little uh, out there. I really want like to do this during like reviewing, but I am too curious because I'm not too familiar with, like, I know of Man Thing and at least one particular power of his, but uh, not through and through. Uh, okay, real name Theodore Salas, Doctor Theodore Ted Salas. What was the quote? Like, wherever you fear is shadow mist, all worlds are dreamed and sleep. Become this true, sweet, faded child, and God is yours to keep. That's one hell of a quote. Okay, I'm not going through his whole backstory. Let's go through to his powers. His physiology is composed of vegetable matter formed by a mixture of mystical energy and swamp mutagens. Malleability, flight, superhuman strength, can live a 2,000-pound automobile. His might, supposedly his might is seemingly limitless, as he's a living embodiment of Earth's life force. Chlorokinesis, ability to control and manipulate plant life, so kind of like Swamp Thing. Superhuman durability, uh, empathy, and acidic secretion. Uh, uh, his body can secrete acid and burn through the bodies from the inside out. So yeah, he secretes, acid. He does not possess emotions himself. Violent emotions in others cause him some form of extreme discomfort, which produces a physical reaction on the surface of his body. In response to emotional provocation, his body produces fumic sulfuric acid, which can cause severe burns when in contact with the flesh of emoting beings. When the being ceases to radiate emotion, the Man Thing's body ceases production of acid and secretes a mild, soapy mucus that tends to neutralize the acid. The Man Thing will only attack a being that emotionally provokes him. Reality displacement. Through his access to the nexus of realities, Silas has the ability to transplant settings from different dimensions onto the primary Marvel universe, even interchanging alternate reality counterpart appearances with the main iteration of core continuum characters with other versions of themselves. So he kind of like a nexus point between multiverses, I guess. Size enhancement, dimension travel, teleportation, regeneration, reformation. So yeah, that's the Man Thing's abilities. Anywho, uh, so the bloodstones on his back. Uh, Elsa and the Wolfman guy decides to work together in order to, because he doesn't want the stone. He just wants to free his friend, and and she agrees to help him. But once they get to him, and because he tells her, just call him Ted, because that reaches the human side of this guy, and he like doesn't provoke like action to attack her. So as the piece of the uh, as the bloodstone gets off, she gives the guy like a small explosive device to put against the wall to break away to so the man thing can just escape. But then upon trying to touch the thing, uh, it reacts and causes because it reacts to anything that's a monster or probably like a supernatural, I guess, in that vein, like vampires, werewolves, and of the like. So he gets repelled back, which alarms everybody else. It's like, oh, you're one of them, and she gets locked up with him because she colluded with him pretty much. And he expressed that she has nothing to fear from him because he doesn't change into the Wolfman until like 5 days from now. However, because of the Bloodstone, it initiated the it can initiate the transformation immediately. It's like it's gonna be. He only has like probably like a handful of minutes before it starts. But he then proceeds. It was kind of funny where he just started coming over and starts sniffing all over her, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm gaining your scent. Once I do, like, he would, not attack you. He will sense you as a friend. Uh, so he quickly does that, and then I call her the evil stepmom. She uh, forces the transformation using the stone, saying like, oh, has that kind of mindset as Blade does, where, well, probably a little bit more hardcore than Blade, because there's been situations in Blade history where uh, there's like a few very rare occasions where a few vampires he did not kill outright. Just like in rare occasions, Punisher does not kill somebody who he would necessarily deem a criminal. Very rare. Uh, but this woman, like, just has like a hard line, like, you're a monster. It does not matter if you don't do bad things. You're a monster by definition. I need to kill you as my, belief and job requires. So, in an awesome cinematic way, where it's like you see like a shadow of him doing the transformation, and it's classic Wolfman. It's not like generic werewolf like you usually see, like Werewolf in London kind of situation. This is like the Wolfman, kind of like Benicio del Toro's portrayal in 2010's Wolfman movie, which I did last year as a review for Halloween, which you can check out my thoughts on that film on youtube.com/talkativecarl if you want to hear my thoughts on that Wolfman, which I think is like an underrated film, because I think that could easily line up with Dracula Untold, which I hear a rumor they might try to revitalize that movie and get a sequel from that. Don't quote me on that. I seen like some inklings of that, but if it's true, I'm fucking psyched for it. I cannot wait for it. Luke Evans is my definitive Dracula because he plays the role perfectly, and I love like the direction it took, where you blend the historical Vlad the Impaler with the mythological history of Dracula and merge them perfectly. So yeah, Luke Evans is like a fantastic Dracula, and he still pull off that role for a good maybe. If you get him now, they're working on it right now, they can get him in this kind of role for. If you're trying to revitalize the monster cinematic universe, uh, with a good 10 years, you can work with Luke Evans, for that role and milk it for a good 10 years. So and great cinematography. Once again, the director and like everything, the actors involved are doing a phenomenal job. The Wolfman breaks out of the cage and proceeds to kill a lot of these hunters. One of them looked like a glorified David Bowie. From I wanted to point that out because like is that freaking David Bowie? Is this guy trying to do a David Bowie? I don't know. Like I don't know why. It just looks like David Bowie to me, but he started killing everybody. And one particular shot, which is probably my favorite shot, where uh, is in this hallway, and like the Wolfman proceed in this one single shot. It's kind of like the Wolfman's hallway fight scene, like from Daredevil, where he proceeds to kill this group of guards in this hallway, and doesn't edit or break away, and all the while the blood is like splurting onto the camera itself, and it's like awesome shot. Like that is the money shot right there. It's so cool. I love that. It was so much fun. I love that. Oh my god, this movie is so much fun. Uh, uh, so, uh, then Man Thing shows up, kills the evil stepmom, and so now it's like Elsa is the sole controller of the Bloodstone. She controls like the leader of the hunters kind of situation, which I'm imagining Blade will show up and team up with her at some point down the line, whenever they get a new director for the Blade film. And then the Wolfman leaves, Man Thing chases after him, and then as he's sitting down, the transition between black and white into color just fades in, and you see how modernized it is, and you see like the actual color of Man Thing, and like the guy who is daytime now, so he transformed back to human, and see all that. So obviously these two will show back up at some point. And obviously with Man Thing's powers, you can easily utilize it to bring in different dimensional Marvel characters into the world. Which, by the way, now I'm thinking about it, you can use it to bring in Tom Hardy Venom into the main universe, like you should have done with Spider-Man No Way Home, because it makes no sense to send him back. I want Tom Hardy with Tom Holland in the same film. God, cause he's he's our Venom now. It's like keep him in the main. Do not make up a whole new Eddie Brock. You already got an Eddie Brock. Let's stick with Tom Hardy. Oh my god, that was like a misstep on John Watts' part. That's probably the only con I have out of the entire No Way Home film. As much as I consider it one of my absolute favorite films of all time, it is my favorite film. That is the one con I have against it. It's the fact that he sent in Eddie Brock back and didn't bother to keep him in the main universe. You set him up. It makes no sense if you just quickly send him back in an end credit. Which, by the way, end credit should have just have him meeting up with Topher Grace Venom and have them just make more sense. Just have like not only keep Tom Hardy in the main universe, but have Topher Grace walk into the bar, sit down next to him, and warn him about Spider-Man. Like, you see this guy, you F him up on sight. And then send Topher Grace back with now Tom Hardy's Venom. It's like, okay, then he's a bad guy, so I gotta deal with him in the Venom way. And so now you got that set up. I mean, that'd be a smarter play. But anyway, Werewolf by Night has done a phenomenal job. Like, maybe after a rewatch, I'll find some more cons to it. The only con I can think of right now is slightly a nitpick. I kind of wish they just kept the black and white all through and through instead of fading into the color towards like the last few minutes. A little bit more clear of the guy, and like if they actually recognize him, or if he's actually well known and he got bit by a wolf some point in his career and kept that a secret or something. I wish they was a little bit more clear on that. If they were, I probably need a rewatch to get that brought to the forefront. But yeah, it was a quick little review on that one. It was only like 50 minutes, but I loved it. I dig it. I thought it was gonna be a series. I was pleasantly surprised it being just like a nice short movie. And I love the surprise introduction of Elsa Bloodstone. I want to see this character a lot more down the line. Obviously, it's got to be dealing with the occult stuff. So she got to mix it up with Blade and Doctor Strange at some point down the line. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of Werewolf by Night, what you liked and disliked about it. And don't forget to leave a like and hit the notification bell. That greatly support the channel. And I will see you guys in a few minutes. I have a comic book review I want to get through tonight. Then after that, I will be hopping on to Overwatch for tonight. I'm not going to be working tomorrow, so I'll have another all-nighter with you guys. So anyway, I'll see you guys in a little bit.